What up, New York Giant Nation and football fans all over the world? It is your boy, Mac the Giants fan. I got my guy, the super dope co-host, Adam Costas. Y'all know what time it is. Punch that intro, baby. What is going on today out there? How you feeling today, Adam?
I am feeling fantastic. It was the Christmas season, and boy, did Santa come through for me.
That's so good. I'm glad. Hope everybody out there had a happy and safe Christmas. And get on. Make sure you have a happy and safe New Year coming upon us this weekend. It'll be a lot warmer temperatures. Won't be those freezing temperatures we was just dealing with last weekend.
Arctic, huh?
What's going on, Philly Sports Talk Podcast? Thanks for stopping in, bro.
I know that. Mac is going to have a couple Mad L's if he has any left for New Year's. That's for sure.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna have some of those. Always try to keep a couple on deck. You know what I mean? A couple of them Mad L's on deck. You never know when they come in handy sometimes, man.
Well, thankfully this year in more of a celebratory mood instead of you're drinking your sorrows away.
Absolutely. Giants giving us a lot to celebrate this weekend, man. It was an interesting weekend in the NFC East, man. Interesting weekend, man. The Eagles are obviously still in full command for the most part, but they still haven't completely wrapped everything up yet. So they got some work to still do. And the Washington Commanders did not do themselves any favors going out to the West Coast and getting thumped in San Francisco. Brock Purdy on fire still, man. But let's start. But we want to since the New York Giants and Minnesota Vikings played in that 1:00 window on Saturday. We're gonna start right there. We're gonna go right to Minnesota, man.
Go right to it.
Let's do it, man. The Minnesota Vikings unfortunately walked away with this one with a 27-24 victory over the New York Giants, which if you go back to my preview video, this was the exact score I picked, except I had it the other way. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out for me this time.
Imagine you were 61 yards away from possibly being correct.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And what is it with teams beating the New York Giants with 60-plus yard field goals?
I don't know, man. We're the only team that's gotten beaten by 60-plus yard field goals in the league the last 3 years. It's 3 games. 3 games. Stop it already.
It's insane, man. I just don't understand what it is about teams and those kickers are all of a sudden get some kind of energy in their leg when they're playing the New York Giants.
It's easy to play in the dough. But let's be honest, that kick would have been good for 62, 63 yards, man. My God.
Yeah, that kick had about at least 3 or 4 more yards a distance on it.
He just nailed it.
He absolutely did drill it. But this game here, man, this is going to be interesting when we get into this conversation here because even though the Giants took an L here, unfortunately they got a lot of help, which did not really affect their playoff seeding in any way, shape, or form.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank God that things worked out there for the New York Giants because had they won this game, they would actually already have a playoff spot secured. But they couldn't quite get the job done. Came up a little bit short. But this week, man, I'm going to straight up come out and we're going to lead off with it. It wasn't because of the quarterback. I'm sorry. Mr. Daniel Jones went out there and he performed for this New York Giant football team. Saquon Barkley as well. The two stars, the two leaders of this offense went out there and they did the damn thing. They did their job. And they did it pretty damn effectively. And a few things here go to bounce the wrong way. A turnover here and a couple bad penalties here. A couple, you know, things that teams like us, the New York Giants, seem to kind of do at the wrong times. Which makes us probably not quite that ready for some of the big boys. You know what I mean? Because we just seem to can't get out of our own way when it comes to those kind of things. Because that's totally difference in this football game here was just a lot of the more or less few of the mistakes the New York Giants did make that they weren't able to quite overcome. But their quarterback Daniel Jones, I think he went out there and he really showed me something. We'll get a little more into that in a little bit. But Adam, you can go ahead and take it away, bro.
I first off, funny story for me is I had to rewatch the game, folks, because I was watching it on Christmas Eve. I was traveling to my folks' place, long drive. I think it was the football gods that made our trip long so we could hear the game. But I had to watch it through the TV because I live too far out to get the radio broadcast as I was traveling up, and it's not safe to change everything while you're driving. So I said, whatever, fine. I listened to the game, and like you said, Daniel's dialing it up, and he's doing these good things. And finally, when I came on to a podcast, I think it was Friday or Thursday or Friday. I forget. I think it was Friday night. And I said the Giants have to open up the playbook. That's what they have to do. In order to be a part of this team, you got to open up the playbook. And what do? They finally trusted their quarterback and opened up the playbook. Now, it was good to see. Daniel had a good game. That's right, people. I just said that. The hell's not frozen over. I said Daniel had a good game. But it's funny because I'm listening to the game through the radio, and I finally get to where I'm going. The Giants win, and I'm hearing a choppy cut up of the last play because obviously the thing is freezing, and I hear lines up for the field goal. It's good, and I'm like, oh my God, the Giants have lost a game again. I didn't know how long the field goal was until I talked to my friend who's a Cowboy fan. He's like, yeah, you lost on a 61-yard field goal. I said, kickoff was, I heard the field goal was good, but I didn't hear it was 61 yards. I was like, 61 yards. So after rewatching the game, I saw some things that I liked with Daniel. I saw some things that were like, oh, okay. And it's funny because I read that website. I told you guys, Big Blue Interactive. I give them a shout out. And the guy comes on and he reviews the game. And he said everything that I said. The guy played brilliantly, but there was something that I needed. There was, for whatever reason, I needed more. And I was talking to my friend at the Christmas Eve. He's, again, a Cowboy fan. I said, let me see the stats of Daniel. Remember, because I couldn't see the game, so I couldn't see them flash. Let me know what he did, because I couldn't hear everything. He said, he threw for 333 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And then he asked me, he's like, that's great numbers and all, but he only threw one touchdown. I said, yeah. So he's like, yeah, don't you think you get that much yards, you should have at least a couple touchdowns? He's like, your boy Daniel doesn't throw touchdowns. And I thought about it, I'm like, that kind of is interesting because he didn't throw a touchdown. Now, I don't know exactly why. I guess he didn't. I mean, I'll tell you why. They don't really throw in the end zone because it's funny because you look at the Vikings are the opposite. They threw the ball in the end zone. That 3rd and 5 to Justin Jefferson for a touchdown, they could have easily went for the first down. They threw it right into the end zone from the 14-yard line. There was no, hey, we're hesitating. They threw it to their guy. Same thing with T.J. Hockenson. They threw the ball up to Hockenson from 20 yards out. And I'm like, Daniel Bellinger isn't incompetent. He can't run. Not that he can't run routes. It's like the Giants have to get like 5 yards in, and then you throw a touchdown pass to him. But I will say this. The touchdown pass was pretty good, and I will say the throw for the 2-point conversion was probably his 2 best throws of the year. The touchdown was good because he actually moved in the pocket a little bit, which is one of the things that we always tell Daniel that he needs to be a little bit more aware of. So his pocket movement was good there. And then the touchdown, it was like, man, you dodged the bullet because Patrick Peterson was a hair late, but man, whew, that guy was open for a little while. I got to just let it rip, man. Just let it rip quicker and don't put us in that position. But I got to give him credit where credit's due. The offense, I got to give him credit. And I'll tell you this, the team let Daniel down, okay, because they had stupid penalties again. They had stupid turnovers again. They got a block punt because Jamie Gillian is not that great. They are not ready yet, I feel, for prime time. They're just not quite ready yet. And it's unfortunate because, We don't know what's going to happen next season. Yeah, obviously, every year, season to season. But right now, we're playing the 49ers. And while I believe that the Giants can put up some points, the 49ers defense is ferocious. They had no joke. And with Brock Purdy, they're putting up points. So I'd rather go back to Minnesota than go to San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm just happy with us being. I'll just be happy in the postseason regardless. I don't even at this point. It don't even matter where we go. I don't necessarily feel that this New York Giant team is quite championship built yet. So I'm not having expectations of that regardless of who we got to play in the first round. Maybe you're right, Minnesota. Maybe might present a better matchup for us based off what we saw on Saturday against that team. 49ers defense, you're correct, is a very ferocious, very strong, tough-minded defense. But I just still believe in the heart of this New York Giant team, and we're gonna make no matter who we play, we're gonna make them have to earn it regardless. And I kind of wouldn't mind taking a shot at that Brock Purdy kid just because maybe we can do some things other people haven't been doing out, throw some things at him that people haven't. I mean, Wink Martindale's blitzes and things are very exotic, obviously, and that's something that Brock Purdy may not be quite ready for, and that could be a wrinkle in the 49ers offensive game plan. And I mean, that's just what I think could possibly be the case.
Well, in terms of
But
seeding right now, they are second seed right now. So, or third seed, excuse me. So they play
yeah,
the Raiders and the Cardinals to end. So you're going to see there's going to be a fight to the finish to see who's there. And I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves because obviously we have this game against the Vikings to talk about, who by the
Colts
way are
on
11-0
Friday.
in one score games, which is kind of remarkable when you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. But back to that game after that Barkley touchdown, and they went for the 2 point conversion. It was something else I wanted to. That's another one of those plays that stood out to me. That actually might have been my primetime play of the game for Daniel Jones, my personal one, because when I watched that play, the old Daniel Jones would have did something absolutely stupid there. That's how I feel. That's why I mean where I say he took a step in this game where it made me have a whole different way of looking at him now. Where I was more in the middle, and now I'm definitely kind of more on this kid's side now after this game. And it because you see certain things, and on that 2 point conversion, I watched him extend that play. It was a no doubt in my mind, no doubt in anybody's mind that Saquon Barkley was the target on that play, was the target on that play. But that shit was completely taken away. They took Saquon Barkley completely away from that play. Daniel Jones extended that play, and he found, who was it? Was it Bellinger in the back of the end zone? I
Yes.
believe, yeah, Bellinger. So yeah, and he just told it was, and that was to me a maturing. That was a maturity that I haven't seen in Daniel Jones in 4 years here as a New York Giant. I've never seen him really make that kind of decision where before I feel like that would have just been complete disaster. He would have just forced it and tried to throw it to Barkley anyway, and it would have just got blown up and just been a complete waste. He actually hung on once he saw Barkley it was no chance. He really, like I said, extended that play and waited for somebody else to get open in the back of that end zone, and he hit Bellinger in the back of the end zone. And it was a pretty good catch by Bellinger back there too, as well, keeping his feet, getting his feet down in bounds. So just a good job overall on that whole play by the offense. But Daniel Jones really showed me something on that play. And I know people might be, it's only a 2 point conversion, but it was just when you really watch that play and the breakdown of that play, man, old Daniel Jones, something bad would have happened. And it's just like I guess like I was telling you earlier when we were talking on the phone, like a light bulb just came on Daniel Jones in this game, and I'm just looking at this guy a different way. I saw a guy that, in my opinion, looks like a guy that can be the guy. I just think, I think like you said, the teammates let him down in this one, and I think he played more than good enough for the New York Giants to win this football game. And unfortunately, a couple things break a couple different ways, and it just didn't work out for it. Wasn't in the cards, but that was definitely a play I wanted to highlight, and just because that play really stood out for me deep. Daniel Jones really showed me something there. It looked like he did look like what I see the top quarterbacks type do on that particular play. Just like you're not going to just force what's not there. You got to be patient. Got to buy your time, and he made something happen. And it was a crucial 2 point conversion at the time of the game. So he definitely needed that, and he made sure we got it.
Well, I mean, yeah, he played. You know, he played good. I got to give it to him. I don't think it's the best night I've seen him play. Again, I'm over the 4 years I can remember the Saints game, the Redskin game. He played pretty well. You know, Tampa Bay game that he came back and won us. He played pretty well in. So it's not like, to me. I mean, if you want to say they had a little bit more command, a little more bass in his voice, okay, I can give you that. But to me, like the gentleman says that I read every year, he says, I see vast improvements across multiple components to him in the position, but once again, he left me wanting more. And that's how I felt after the game. I rewatched it again. I'm like, damn, Daniel, like, what? Like, why do I feel like I only ate half the meal? You know what I mean? Like, why did I only feel like I ate half of
But
what?
this is like I said. I know we've been saying this a lot. People have been saying it a lot, and I think it necessarily like I agree with you that most of it, a lot of it, wasn't necessarily warranted. But I think this week it really stood out that with better tools to work with, the version of the quarterback we had on Saturday, if he had some better toys to play with, it would have it just would have been a different outcome, and we might have blew the damn doors off of Minnesota. To be quite frank, the way Daniel Jones was playing, if he had some better toys to work with, man, it was just. I just got done watching that play with bouncing out of Richie James' hands on that big third down. I mean, you look at the stat sheet from this game. Richie James 8 catches 9 yards. It seems like he had a nice day. But he had these big drops, man, and it's just you can't
Well,
have those in
technically,
these
he did
spots,
have a nice
man.
day. I mean, look, we've had receivers drop balls, and the problem is when you're in crucial moments in tight contested games, the small drops become magnified, right? Because that's what happens. We go back and say, well, if he caught the ball here, if he caught the ball there, it's a different ball game, and that's true. But again, these things are going to happen. Receivers drop balls. It's about overcoming, and the Giants could not overcome the onslaught of offense that was Kirk Cousins. I mean, I like or hate Kirk Cousins all you want. The guy played an admirable game. Took it on the chin all day, all game long, and just stood in there and took pass after pass, moved the ball downfield. You know, they get a block punt, they go ahead and score. They score on 3rd and 15 or 5 with a Justin Jefferson. The one interesting thing that happened in the game was they went for it on 4th and 2, and they did a deep shot to Jefferson, and I think Thielen ran the wrong route. Apparently, that's at least what it looked like on the videotape, and that's what they were
No, yeah,
saying.
they're right next. Yeah, when they were like right
Right,
next to each other or
right.
something.
And
It
I'm
was
like
weird.
wondering if Thielen runs the correct route, does that defender have a chance to get back on Jefferson? Because if he doesn't, that's a great play for them. If not, now that's why the mistake happens. And I'm saying inches away from that play. He goes up and makes that catch. It's a different ball game, and we're probably getting the doors blown off there too. So it could go either way with this game. What I saw at this team was a team that finally believed in what it was doing. Not to mention Minnesota is a terrible defense. I mean, they were a terrible pass defense, and this is what you want out of your quarterback sometimes. When you have an average guy that I believe Daniel still is, no matter if you get him weapons or not, you need to be able to play against these moments and have decent games against bad pass defenses. And this one was a bad pass defense. They're one of the worst in the league. I mean, the Jets put up 500 yards total offense on that whole defense. So they're a bend but don't break defense. So he came through. The receivers came through. I'm not mad at necessarily. I'm mad at Richie James, but at the same time, that's Richie James for you. I mean, we shouldn't have been in that position to play games if we don't throw the interception or we don't fucking get sacked and all this stuff and get kicked out of field goal range on a few of these plays. Maybe it's a different ball game, you know. And I feel like the Giants ultimately shot themselves in the foot a lot in this game, in key moments, in key spots, in places where you probably if you're a better team, you're taking the lead, right? That interception, it's a bigger interception because it happens in the red zone. It happens in a place where we're driving to get points. Now again, they went down and scored, but that could be a difference between them kicking a 61-yard field goal to tie, or us winning in regulation and changing it up, because I do believe the Giants went conservative a little bit in the third quarter. A little bit. You're like, what are you doing? They took the pedal off the metal a little bit. They went back to like, hey, let's throw an out route here. Let's throw this screen pass here. And it was back to that dink and dunk type of shit. And I'm like, And then in the fourth quarter, they kind of had to kick it up a notch because They got that field goal. They were down by not 1 point now. They were down by a touchdown, 8 points. They had to kind of be aggressive. And I want to see what happened in Philadelphia, what happened in Minnesota. I need to see happen in the Giants. Minnesota, they said, I forget who the coach is. I think it's I forget who it is. I'm not gonna. I thought it was Ed Donatel, but I think that's the defensive coordinator. But their quarterback was like, "We're always going to be aggressive, no matter what. It doesn't matter what the score is. We're always going to be aggressive." And I'm like, "That's the approach the Giants need to have. Throw your hand, inhibition to the wind. Turnovers are going to happen. Just go downfield and play reckless abandonly because." The way that they played on Saturday offensively, you're going to win more football games that way than the way that they played against the Commanders the week prior.
No, I totally agree, and that's why when it comes to the interception, when Daniel Jones, it wasn't like I said, it wasn't a good throw. It's not. I'm not excusing.
I'm not harping on that. I'm just saying the timing.
I'm just no. I know. I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying that at the same time, he threw the interception while being aggressive. While continuing to be aggressive, you know what I mean. Whereas before,
his running stats were down.
So it's like also like I was talking to you on the phone earlier about as well. The Patrick Peterson back there, kind of. I think Daniel Jones just it was like a chess move almost, like where Patrick Peterson kind of just, yeah, come on, keep testing me, keep testing me. You know what I mean?
I believe
Jones
that too.
Went to that well a little bit once too often in that situation also as well. I think that has a little bit to do with it as well. Not like I said, by no means excusing it. That was like a crucial time, and an interception, and it hurt us. Hurt the New York Giants. It stopped the drive that was looking pretty decent. So it did definitely slow a drive down for us. Like you said, the turnovers was what the difference in this game for the New York Giants.
Three turnovers. You count the punt because I'm going to call that a wash because they lost it on 4th and 2, but the punt was deadlier because it was in our own end. That's the problem, right? It got blocked.
Absolutely.
It was in the plus 20 side of the field on the Giants side, right? So when the Vikings went for 4th and 2, they were at least on the Giants' territory. They weren't in their own backfield, right? Red zone. The block punt happens, and they're in the red zone. And at that point, I'm like, I basically thought it was going to be finished at that point because, I mean, they had time. They went down and scored. I thought Minnesota scored too quickly, but again, that was the 3rd and 5 play to Justin Jefferson for the touchdown. And of course, the Giants got the ball back and went right down the field and scored. And we'll see again what happened. But hey, good game to build off of. They didn't get the doors blown off like I predicted. I thought they were going to lose, but I said that they were going to be able to keep up with them. And we'll see what happens if they get to meet this team again down the road. I think defensively, they played an average game defensively. They got to Kirk Cousins here and there, and that's the difference, right? Daniel Jones has an interception, a fumble. There was a fumble by Daniel Bellinger. That's two lost plays right there. Could have been 3 with that fumble by Daniel, right? The Vikings threw 2 interceptions that were called back on, one a penalty, which was bad, and the other one Cordell Flatt somehow couldn't corral it. Otherwise, that's a different part in the game. And so those 2 plays alone.
There's a third one. Dropped the interception as well in this game. What's his name? The damn number. What's his number? I can't even remember the damn McLeod. Yeah, that guy. He dropped the interception in this game as well.
I must have missed that one.
Yeah, he did.
McLeod is always around, just never makes the play. But it's good to see the young guys coming through. It's bad to see that Aziz got banged up. I know that he practiced a little bit, and it's all hands on deck on Sunday, man. Win and you're in. That's it. Win and you're in. Don't worry about anything else. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. The Colts are going to come in. They're going to play hard. That's what they do. That's what they've shown you. And, they're going to not.
They're not going to come in and lay down. They want to come in and play spoiler.
Right.
They ain't going to the playoffs. They want to spoil the Giants' opportunity, So they definitely coming in, and we're going to get their best punch. I mean, they coming in without Jonathan Taylor, which is definitely going to be a big help. Although Zach Moss played pretty nice for him the other night on Monday Night Football, but still, he's no Jonathan Taylor.
Well, I mean, there were 3 interceptions thrown by Nick Foles. You can't always hope that that's going to happen. I think that happened.
Well, the New York Giants don't get interceptions, Adam, so it don't matter anyway. Our D-backs can't seem to hold on to the football, so it's not going to much matter anyway.
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
interceptions. I feel like with the New York Giants, as New York Giants are concerned. But yeah, the defense, like I agree with you. It was okay, nothing
I
great,
mean,
but they
Thibodeau
had a
had
tough
no game. He was quiet.
they had a they had a tough test. Well, I think a lot. He was a little disruptive early when Aziz was out there, but once Aziz went out, and I think they were able to kind of shift things a little bit more towards Kayvon Thibodeau, take him out the game a little bit more, made it a little bit easier for him. It's a big difference, I think, when you got two guys out there that you absolutely have to account for, and you obviously can't double team both of them. So I think that may have had an impact on Thibodeau when Aziz went out the game a little bit. He was still, I think, overall, he wasn't fairly disruptive still. He was still getting around that edge, getting held for the whole damn game. But obviously, they're not going to give him those calls. It seems like apparently he has to go out there and earn them. I guess he
Yeah,
hasn't quite got to that status yet to
he
get to
will.
draw
He
those
will.
flags.
I mean,
But
I'm very interested in see what's happening this off season and the progress that he makes from this year to next year. We probably have about. There's definitely 2 weeks left. I mean, I can't believe there's 2 weeks left in the season. It feels like yesterday this thing is just started, but there's possibly a third week in the season. If they don't win against the Colts, I don't think they'll be in a third week for the Giants. But we'll see, man. We'll see what happens when they go. The experience will help, but next year, the free agency class across the board is down, which means they may sign some of their guys, but some guys are going to be elevated, such as Daniel. You're gonna have to pay him up to $31 million if you want, because the quarterbacks are going to be moving across the league. There's about 10 teams that need a solid, legit QB, so his price tag is going up. That's the one thing I do believe Saturday happened is he increased his value to say that he's probably definitely coming back next year on a short-term deal at least, because I don't believe you can complete the rebuild fully and pay him an astronomical amount and expect to get guys like McKinney and Andrew Thomas down the road just because you're going to be tied up. But we'll see what happens. I personally would do this for Daniel. I'd put the transition tag on him, which is about 31 million. I'm hearing, right? Which is a solid number. I still wouldn't pay him 31 million, but you say, hey, Daniel, you go out and get more money, fine. We'll see you later, right? Or we get 2 draft picks, depending on what happens, and you let him play on the 1-year deal, and see if he is the guy next year, right? So, I'm not saying you draft a quarterback right away, but let's say you draft a Herndon Hooker, you bring him in, 3rd round, 4th round, just in case Daniel gets injured, you have your backup in the system already, ready to go. He does well, great. You keep him, or you don't. I just think that it's going to be hard to sign these players, and that's one of the big reasons why. If Daniel keeps playing well, he might price himself off the Giants just because at some point you're going to be like, well, right now the supply and demand is going to have to be met.
yeah, I just wanted to say what's up to AK Eagles podcast, Unpopular Opinion Sports. What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing? Thanks for stopping in. But he's got a question for you, Adam. What would you do with Saquon Barkley?
Not a question for me; it's a question for us. What I believe is, I believe they're going to do 2 options. I don't think they're going to sign him to a max deal. I just don't feel that way. I love Barkley. I think he's a good player, and it really depends on what you do with Daniel first. Because if you bring back Barkley, you can get any rookie quarterback or young guy to come in here and play well. I know people don't want to hear these names, but Baker Mayfield's looking pretty spry. If he were to leave and you get him on a cheaper deal than Daniel, I think him and Barkley would be just fine in this offense. However, do you want to pay that guy? I mean, you got to think of the history with both the guys. History is here. They've both been injured. This is the first year that they haven't been injured. Can I trust that they're going to be injured next year? I mean, not injured next year. Am I going to do more with Barkley? Right? Because that's what you want to find out. Is he going to get any better than he is? I think personally, you can find a guy in the draft who you can kind of fill his void. That's probably what I would do. It depends on where their identity lies, right?
I mean, that's true. I mean, well, as far as Barkley, I mean Barkley. I know guys ain't gonna get. I mean, gonna get always get in front of the mic and say all the right things. You know what I mean? But he seems like he genuinely wants to be a New York Giant. Going forward, and I think at this point the injury thing. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, I can't really worry about that as much, man. I just feel like he's your guy. If you really want him, you got to keep him in town, man, and you got to go out there and you got to do what you got to do, figure it out to keep the best player on your football team a part of this football team. And he seems like he really wants to be here. Maybe he's willing to work out a team friendly deal. I mean, all that we'll have to see when we get into this off season. It's going to get interesting, man. It's going to be really
Well,
interesting. But I'm all
there's going to be a
about
lot of
keeping
teams throwing
Saquon
money at
Barkley
him.
here.
There are going to be a lot
No,
of
I
teams
can I
throwing
can
money.
I can agree, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's going to be about what he truly wants as well. Yeah, you're right because Giants are not going to be the only ones in line on the Saquon Barkley sweepstakes, man. So
And the same thing with Daniel. It's at some point, look, there's the free agency class. I talked with a friend of mine, and it's not going to be a great free agency class across the board, right? Especially when it comes to the quarterback position. But there's guys going to be out there like a Jimmy G, like a Darnold, like a Baker Mayfield, right? Who may not command as much money because of where they were. Daniel now we all agree the Giants probably will bring him back next year, but at some point you got to think financially. Are we going to invest this money in him? Because if you're only investing a couple year deal in him, and you're going to pay more money, then you're screwed because now you got all your assets tied up. I told you, like the Vikings. Look at the Vikings. They have a lot of assets in that offensive side of the football, but they don't have a lot of assets on the defensive side of the football because they have to pay their quarterback. They have to pay their running back. They're going to have to pay Jefferson at some point, right? Their offensive line is susceptible because even though they're first and second round picks, they've been a bit banged up. So they've not gotten the resources in. So then they have to bring in a guy like Patrick Peterson and hope for Daniil Hunter and bring in a Preston Smith because they don't have any depth on their team. And I think the Giants want to build a team. You think right now they probably have 11 draft picks in this draft, depending on if there's a trade at some point.
I mean, yeah, at least something like that.
I could see them easily doing something where they sign and trade one of these guys. Maybe a Barkley they sign and trade in the offseason, get more draft capital. Because again, we keep talking about these holes that this team has, right? And I think people are getting clouded because we've won some games and we almost beat the Vikings. They're like, no, we don't need to worry about anything. We'll bring this guy back, and away you go. And it's not like that. It's like you're going to lose players just out of sheer attrition. That's what happens, whether injury, free agency, whatnot. But also, you have to bring in other players. So the cheapest way to do that is draft picks. And right now, their last draft picks, 50% of them are on IR, right? So there's that 9 guys. You just put Shane Lemieux on IR. You've got all these other back end players you're going to have to sign. There's going to be a lot of movement on this team. So it really becomes what they're going to do, who they want to sign, and who they think is going to help them going forward. Remember, sustainability, people, sustainability. We want to be good for a long time. We don't want to just be good, make the playoffs, and then kick the can down the road.
What's going on, my homie Reese Bass in the chat, man? It's my guy, man. Grew up with. He's a big 49ers fan, and so I guess he came in right at the right time, like he had some kind of sixth sense or something, because that's exactly where we about to go right now, out west to the San Francisco 49ers
San
hosting the
Francisco.
Washington Commanders on Saturday, man, and they gave them an ass whooping to the tune of Taylor Heineke taking a seat back on that bench. And that seat has looked and has turned to a permanent seat once again for Taylor Heineke and the Washington Commanders. So, do you agree with first of all, Adam? Do you agree with that move on the Washington Commanders' part to put Carson Wentz back out there? Do you feel it's a desperation move or?
I'm surprised it happened so late. I probably, if you were going to make this move, because obviously they were thinking about this move, you don't just bench a guy without having an idea that he might not be good. I think they should have come out against the Giants with Carson Wentz. Because to me, if you really wanted a big game, I would have put in the big time quarterback that you paid money for this big time game and say, hey, listen, and away you go. Right now they got their butts kicked. Um, and they lose to the Giants one week. They come back, they lose again to the 49ers. The magic is gone. And I think the reason why is Tyler Heineke threw interceptions. He also threw a couple touchdowns, but I think Carson Wentz physically gives them more of a deep presence. You can have him throw the ball 60 yards downfield. So to me, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs with Carson Wentz. I just think he gives them a better chance for their offense to function. I agree with the move. I think the move probably should have happened in the second half of the Giant Commander game because you weren't doing nothing on offense. If you were really Riverboat Ron, you would have just gambled and say, "Listen, man, he's healthy. We're going to try the second half. We're going to try something different and shake it up a bit. Playoffs are on the line."
I mean, right now the Commanders, they because of all the things that happened on Saturday with the Lions losing, Seattle losing, that helped the Commanders out once again. So the Commanders still kind of have control of their own destiny. They just got to figure out a way to win these next couple of games, which ain't going to be easy considering one of them is against the Dallas Cowboys, and which can be a game that the Dallas Cowboys really need to win, depending on what the Eagles are up to. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with them, man. We'll see what happens. But the Commanders right now, they pretty much control their own destiny. We're just going to see what Carson Wentz. Yeah, same with the Giants, but I mean we're in a little bit better position than they are.
Right.
But the Commanders definitely they just got to go out there and figure out a way to win these next couple of football games, and we'll see what happens. What's going on, Alex? What's going on, Miz? Happy New Year's to all you guys, man. Happy holidays.
And Wyatt
Appreciate
Davis,
y'all
by the
stopping
way,
in.
wasn't it's a great grab, and he's not necessarily thinking to the future. He was already on the team in the summertime, and of course, because of late cuts and things of that nature, he was actually was signed to the team, but injuries went down. Someone signed him to their active roster, so they brought him back. He's already been in the system. Smart move. We'll see what happens. I mean, it doesn't bode well for Glowinski. I'm hoping this means Josh Azudu is not in trouble because I know he had a neck injury that got re-aggravated. So I'm hoping that this is not a move thinking, well, we may not have this guy next year because he had an injury to his neck. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be a fun next few weeks to see these teams' movements. I think the Commanders, who we're talking about right now, are going to – I don't think they're going to do anything. I really don't. Their next two games are pretty brutal. And one of them is against the Cowboys. Now, again, the Cowboys are a 50-50 game because if they decide to rest their starters, because let's say the Eagles win next week, and it doesn't matter what happens against the Giants, then, at that point, they could rest their starters. The thing about the Eagles, though, is it's important for them because now Minnesota's nipping at their heels. And if they happen to lose the next two games, Minnesota takes the number one seed. If they end up with the same record, Philadelphia is the number one seed. So I think Philadelphia is going to be playing the rest of the way. The Cowboys need Philadelphia to lose this next week and they need to win, obviously, to kind of give them something to play for at the end of the year. But at that point, if Philadelphia wins on Saturday, it's not going to mean anything. The game's not going to
it's not going to mean anything. And the Cowboys could very well be resting players because they will be playing the game in the first round of the playoffs. So
right.
It would make more sense for the Cowboys to be resting players, which that's what I mean. The Commanders, I mean, they play Cleveland. They'll be playing Cleveland on Sunday. So I mean, that's a winnable game if they can get their act together.
Right.
Deshaun Watson hasn't come back in here and all of a sudden just starting to blow the doors off of everything. This guy, it's been off to a slow start for him. I mean, you probably won't see the real Deshaun Watson again until next year. Yeah, so this is a very winnable game for Washington coming up. And I think part of the struggles against the 49ers here was just clearly that things they've been doing well, they kind of, got away from in this game. I mean, Brian Robinson, they gave the ball to him. He had 22 carries, but he was very ineffective with only averaging 2.6 yards a carry. I mean, going against a very stiff
49ers defense.
Stiff 49ers defense, I get it. But at the end of the day, that's one of the things the Washington Commanders have been doing really well, in the second half of the season has been running that football, grinding things out, and they just weren't able to get it done on the ground. And obviously, Taylor Heineke was very, very ineffective as well, to the point of getting to the tune of getting benched in this game for Carson Wentz to come out there and finish the game out. And neither one of these quarterbacks really were able to get much going, to be quite frank. I mean, the 49ers defense pretty much smothered this Washington team, and they never really had much of a chance in this football game.
Yeah, I mean, Washington is like the Giants. They're a team that's middle of the road that has overachieved in somewhat. I mean, them more so than the Giants because, remember, they were dead to rights at the beginning of the year. And so they had a hot hand in Tyler Heineke, and here they are now, and let's see if they can close the deal. If they win with Carson Wentz, I think you'll see him. Not only will we see him the rest of the way, but I think you'll see him next year if they somehow make the playoffs. Their defense is still pretty solid. Not the greatest defense, but they're pretty solid. But we'll see what happens, man. I mean, Sundays are an opportunity to kind of keep themselves alive.
Absolutely agree, man. What's going on, Chad, man? And I don't know if you have any more on this Washington and 49ers game. It was an absolute
No, well, when you lose by double digits, it's not a good game.
Yeah,
So.
not much to talk about there. So we will move on to what was the biggest matchup in the NFC East this weekend, and that was the Philadelphia Eagles going down to Jerry's World, heavyweight title fight, prize fight, and the Eagles took their second loss of the season, losing to the Cowboys 34-40, with their backup quarterback Gardner Minshew at the helm, which. Some people have been trying to put this on Gardner Minshew, and I keep trying to say maybe it's just me and the secret fanboy in me. I'm a Gardner Minshew fan. You don't like it, I don't care. I like Gardner Minshew. I think the guy's a pretty decent quarterback, and he's definitely one of the best backup quarterbacks in this league. And I think a lot of people have been.
Go ahead.
I think a lot of people have been trying to put this game on Gardner Minshew. And Gardner Minshew, he didn't play. I mean, he's not Jalen Hurts, but he didn't play absolutely terrible. I think he did enough for this team to get a W, and it wasn't for some mistakes in general. The Eagles kind of, in a sense, beat themselves here. I'm sorry, Cole's Cowboy, but that's just how it went down, man.
Well,
I know you might not want to hear that, but
let's address this, right? You want to talk about a defense that gave up 40 points? Your defense gave up 35. Okay, and on top of that, you gave up 355 yards passing to a backup quarterback. Okay, so you want to tell me that the Cowboys did great and all this stuff? When I grew up in the 90s, if a backup quarterback came in the NFC East, you were to put a drubbing on him. You were to make him feel like he is the backup quarterback for a reason. You just revitalized Gardner Minshew. I don't care if you're missing players. I do not care. The NFL does not care that you're missing players, Cole. They don't give a damn. I don't care that you're missing players. You know what that smells like? An excuse. That's what it is. Oh, we're missing corner. The Giants have no running backs. They have no receivers. They have nothing. And we go, you know how much I pound the table saying no one's going to give a damn about that? No one gives a damn about your booty-ass corners not being able to handle it. Next man up. That's what shit happens, man. You're telling me, well, where our backups win. That's not my problem. That's not the Eagles' problem.
Look, at the end of the day, I mean, Gardner Minshew came in, and like I said, he filled in admirable for Jalen Hurts. He had two receivers over 100 yards. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, both over 100 yards on the day. I mean, it was really the turnovers in this game that hurt the Eagles, man. They came in really bad spots. That fumble by Miles Sanders at the end, that was egregious. Miles Sanders, you got to hold on to the football in that situation. You can't be putting the ball on the ground in that situation, man.
There you go. And if they get that, who knows what happens? And then maybe we're talking about the Eagles beating the Cowboys, and then you're going to come on this stream and have all the excuses in the world. Like, you gave up 34 points. You beat a team that you should have beaten with a backup quarterback. You're in your building. Okay, you still gave up 40 points. You gave up over 500 yards the previous week to the Jaguars. All right, you haven't been playing your best football as of late. Yes, you won the game by the seat of your pants, but at the end of the day, what are we looking at here? You have a playoff caliber defense. At the beginning of the year, I thought that.
I mean, look, this was not a good day for either one of these defenses. They both got absolutely shredded in this game. But at the end of the day, like I said, the difference was those turnovers, man. At least one of those interceptions that Gardner Minshew threw, Quez Watkins, man, you just got punked basically, bro. You let my man just take the ball from you. He just ousted you. Like it was just straight up.
Take?
Huh?
A Cold Cowboy says that was a BS take, AC. I'm like, what is a BS take?
Look, so at the end of the day, man, I think it was a sloppy game by the Eagles, probably the sloppiest game you've seen from them all season. Obviously, they gave up 40 points. So it just was their mistakes ultimately were what cost them in this game. I mean, the
Well,
fact that they still went out there with their backup quarterback down in Dallas and still went toe to toe with the Cowboys, it was, I mean, still shows you how good they actually are. I mean, they're an impressive football team, and it took 4 turnovers and a bunch of other just mistakes and just like I said, a horrible defense for the Cowboys to get the job done here, man. I'm not trying to slight the Cowboys by no means, but the reality is what the reality is. That it took all of that, and the Eagles still only lost this game. But how many teams go out there and have 4 turnovers in a game, and and
okay.
and and lose only by 6 points, literally by the skin of their teeth? I mean, it just doesn't. That's not normal, man. That's a really good football team in Philly, man.
Here's my mic drop for that Coles Cowboy guy. Okay, here it is. Okay, mic drop this. You're like, oh well, the Eagles got praised for beating Cooper Rush. You know what the Eagles made Cooper Rush look like? A pedestrian backup quarterback. If you want to go back to the game, Cooper Rush had 181 yards and 3 interceptions in that game. You know what Gardner Minshew had in this game? Let me refresh your memory, okay? Because it seems like you're not watching the same game we're watching here. Let's go. What did he have on Sunday? 355 yards and 2 touchdowns. Did that look like a backup quarterback to you? No, they made Cooper Rush look like a backup quarterback. Hence why they got praised. You made Gardner Minshew look like a starting quarterback in this league.
I mean, I can't disagree with that. Gardner and those numbers right there is against what's supposed to be a really good Cowboy defense. You would think you're ready to feast on a backup quarterback. Like I said, now don't get it twisted. Put a little respect on my boy Gardner Minshew name, Uncle, Uncle Rico, whatever they call him. You know
Uncle
what I mean?
Rico.
We'll put a little respect on his name. He's not just the average run of the mill backup quarterback. I mean, dude
Right,
does
no,
have
but
legitimate starting experience, but
But he said this. He said the Eagles was praised for beating Cooper Rush. And I'm saying, well, look at what Cooper Rush did and look what you did. So I'm not going to praise you for giving up 355 yards when the previous game against the Cowboys, the Eagles looked like a vaunted defense because they had 3 interceptions. You got 2 interceptions and still threw the ball all over the yard. And that's not talking about, let's see, what else is there? Is there anything else I can pinpoint? Oh, you
well, the
got Miles.
Cowboys defense did not record a sack in this game of
Oh,
Gardner Minshew either.
you gave up
So
200 yard rushers. You had Dallas Goedert had a solid game. The running game just barely got over 90 yards, so they didn't need to do that, right? They didn't need to do anything. Now, does Jalen Hurts maybe change the game a little bit? Absolutely, absolutely changes the game. But the fact of the matter is, you beat a guy. You didn't crush a team that had a backup quarterback in. Now, I don't want to disrespect Mac's quarterback, because I like Gardner Minshew as well, and you're going to find him on a team near you someday. Soon, he's going to be a starter or some bridge starter for some team in the future. But to me, like I get it. I get it what they're saying that you won the game, but don't act like you blew the doors off the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm sure if they have Jalen Hurst, that game goes a different way.
it most likely would have, but also just like I said, even like I said with Minshew out there, just take away 1 or 2 of those big errors in this game, and the game would have won a different way as well. So I think the Eagles will go ahead and lock things up against New Orleans on Sunday anyway, and it's not going to matter. It's going to be a moot point. The Eagles are going to just still go on to have that first round bye because I still believe even we're coming off of this loss that
Bye, bye.
they're still the dominant team in the NFC conference right now, and that 6 point loss to the Dallas Cowboys down in Jerry's World without their MVP
That's
starting quarterback.
that's the reason why I think he is the MVP because in this game, yes, Gardner Minshew threw all over the yard, and that's great. He's like a Brett Favre, poor man's Brett Favre. He throws it all over the yard. I get it, but what what Hurst does is add the running element that Gardner Minshew doesn't. Gardner Minshew had 4 carries for 10 yards. Okay, I think that's the stat line I see. Oh, excuse me, he had 4 carries for 5
for
yards.
5 yards.
So that's 1.2 yards a carry. Thank you, Google. Okay, so if you do that, that's not very good. Now, if you add in Jalen Hurst here, does that average go up? Probably does, and that's a difference in the ball game right there. Maybe you have Hurst run the football a little differently. So this is why we're talking about backup quarterbacks. This is what we're talking about. I don't want to hear excuses. You should have blew the doors off the team, and you didn't. And I'm sure it'll change in a few weeks if these teams meet. I think the 49ers are going to make a case for being in that last game to punch their ticket to the Super Bowl. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, end of the day, this was a great game, a fun game to watch as a football
Yes,
fan in general. I mean,
absolutely.
I hate the Eagles, hate the Cowboys equally. I don't have any
But I like
moral
entertainment.
disdain for either one. Hate them equally, but I do love good football, and they put on a show on Saturday Saturday afternoon, man, Saturday evening, whatever you want to call it. They put on a show for sure. It was a great football game. And I look, I mean, right now it's a possibility they may meet again. They may just meet again, depending on how the
Well,
playoffs shake up. But
if we were
I,
to do the play, if we were to do the playoff scenarios right now, we'll get to your question in a minute, Steve. If we were to do the playoffs right now, the Cowboys are headed to, I do believe, Tampa Bay. So you can say, let's say they win there, right? That would leave the Vikings, who play the Commanders. I think the Vikings are going to easily win that game. And then you have the 49ers play us. I think the 49ers are just a little bit better than us. I think they beat the Giants, right? So that would leave you with the top team playing the worst team that is there. So that would definitely be the Cowboys. So it would be Eagles Cowboys, not in the NFC East. It'd be in the divisional round because two would play three, and one would play five, right? Because you obviously have
yeah, well,
the,
yeah,
those
yeah,
games,
you're
right?
right.
So they would be in the divisional round. So it would probably be if the playoffs shake out the way I just said, you're going to see them earlier than normal. Now, again, we'll see what happens. Still got a couple games to go. Things could change. Seeding is still being determined right now. I think Minnesota is still trying to fight for the 1 seed and the 2 seed.
Mm,
49ers are trying to fight for the 2 seed. The Buccaneers are just trying 2 seed. They're not trying to fight for any seed. They're just trying 2 seed. But we'll see what happens. Steve Galvin says, Patricia trainer Carl Banks, Bob Papa said, if it is financially possible to re-sign both Barkley and Jones, I agree with building through the draft. Trading back during the draft is what Belichick did for the Patriots. I agree, but it's going to eat a lot of your cap hit, and it really depends on who they feel better. Like, do I like Barkley? Yes, we lost with him. We won with him. I'm not going to lose any sleep if they get rid of him. It really depends on
I,
where.
I would, I would lose sleep.
I mean, it depends on what their identity is. You know what I mean? Like, if they want to run the football, then you bring back Saquon Barkley. If you're going to make it quarterback centric, like they do in Buffalo, where the quarterback is predominantly the primary runner and he also is the thrower, then you'll do a running back by committee. It really depends on what they feel. Now, the question becomes, do you want to tie these two guys up to long-term deals and then not be able to sign Andrew Thomas or, Xavier McKinney? Because that's what's going to happen. You're not going to be able to sign these guys while you have the quarterback. Now, again, I agree with Papa and Trish and Carl Banks. Yeah, they can all sign him, but if you're telling me Daniel Jones comes back on a 1-year deal, then yes, you're going to sign him. If these two guys have big money contracts, I don't think that's where the Giants want to go. Because if you look around the league, how many teams are tied up into a lot of big money players without small quarterbacks on the roster? I mean, the 49ers are the case in point. They didn't even sign their quarterback to a big deal. They have guys like McCaffrey, who has got a big contract. They got George Kittle, who I think has a big contract, and that's about it. And Debo Samuel, because their quarterback didn't take that much. Now, if you add in all those guys in the skill position players, you're going to lose somebody on the back end. It's just going to happen. It's just going to happen.
Miz in the chat thinks Barkley's going to get tagged at the 12 million. I mean, like I said, we'll see. We'll see, man. I'll see what these guys got planned, but I think, especially, well, Barkley. Period. I've already been on the Barkley train. Regardless, that he needs to be back, be a part of this team going forward. Daniel Jones, to me, sealed the deal for me on Saturday. Like I said, it just something I saw in that performance on Saturday that he looked like the quarterback that I've been waiting to see for 4 years. I mean, it was just the overall. I know it wasn't his best game
Right, but you're not. I
statistically
don't think you're
ever.
paying $100 million.
Well, no, I'm not necessarily saying ready to just go all the way there quite yet either, but I just really believe that he may really be the guy, and we need to figure out a way maybe keep him
The
around. I
franchise
think.
tag is $40 million plus, 40 plus million. So if you're going to do, if the transition tag is 31 million. Like I said, my plan would be to bring Daniel back for the 31.5 million transition tag. Why? Because it saves you from getting him stolen right out from under you. But if a team likes him enough to pony up over $30 million a year for him, great. So then what you do is you have him prove it again to you. Because again, I look at history, and history is not good on either one of these players' sides in terms of their injuries, in terms of what they've done with the Giants. I mean, they've been a lot of losing with these two guys. It's not like they've been winning. They've had one winning season, and we are in a rebuild mode. Now, do you want to bring back players? You do. Do you want to bring back players at a reasonable rate? Yes. It'll be dependent on what Joe Shane sets his budget at. If he thinks Daniel's going to be $100 million quarterback, he'll sign him. I don't think he thinks that. I think at least he thinks Daniel will come back for next year, at least because the quarterback crop in 2024 is a lot better. And we'll see what happens. To me, I think the logical explanation is give him a couple-year deal that allows you to get out, that allows you to bail out if things go south, or if you need to trade him, depending on what happens across the league. Because next year's schedule, again, we don't want to look ahead, but it's going to be a little harder.
It's going to be a third place schedule. Most likely be a third place schedule.
Yeah, it'll be a third place schedule, but you're still playing first place teams. Okay, you're still playing the AFC East, who is pretty good. Right,
Yeah,
that entire AFC East is going to have a winning record. Okay,
get a couple of those sprinkled on your schedule, regardless, no matter what. Anyway,
well, yeah, but then you have the Cowboys again, who are, and the Eagles, right? So there's going to be, and now you'll have a bullseye on your back, and about 17 games worth of footage on you, which means now teams will have an idea of how Brian Daboll wants to utilize the team. And film does matter. Coaches will figure you out. This is the NFL. That's what happens. So basically, like what UOP said, unpopular opinion, 3 year deal, $30 million a year. That's what Jones will get, but someone could outbid the Giants, like the Jets. Like that's what I agree with. I don't think he's getting any more than that. I think $30 million is the cap. If someone comes in like the Jets and says, "We'll offer you 35," you let him walk. I'm sorry. I know people aren't going to like that, and are worried about that. But there's production when you look at it.
Imagine if the New York Jets swooped Daniel Jones up, and this kid is still in the same media market, and just moving to the other side of the complex. You know what I mean? Could you just imagine that?
Oh God, they probably would ruin him. They'll probably ruin him. But that's NYG probably got the best thing. I don't think you'll get that much more than that, and I think you'll get 2 or 3 year deal, 30 million, because but all the receiving core, the receivers in this free agency class aren't great. I'm not going to rely on rookies to elevate him, so I don't want to hear any excuses. If they make a trade for a DeAndre Hopkins or they sign a T Higgins, then we'll have a different conversation. But if we draft a first round quarterback receiver and the Giants stumble out the gates because the competition's higher, the offensive line's still trying to gel, and the receivers got to get on the same page, I don't want to hear any excuses, right? So I think the Giants know that he deserves to be brought back at least a year. I think that's what they'll do. I think they don't want to also take away from the rebuild plan because, Miz and I agree here. I think that's if you put up Miz's comment here, I think you've got 3 years. I think it's going to be an opt-out. I don't even think it's going to be an opt-out after 2. I think it's going to be a series of 1 year deals where they're going to give him the first year, probably incentive-laden deal, say, hey, listen, we're going to get you a receiver. We're going to try to build an offensive line around you. You have an injury history. You don't throw touchdowns. So we're not going to give you top quarterback market money, but we're going to give you a solid. We're going to give you a raise. And, if you stink, great. We'll be in line to get a quarterback next year when 15 of them are coming out. If he's good, great. If not, you can trade him. You want to have options with Daniel Jones. You don't want to be locked in. You don't want to be locked in with anybody, but definitely with your quarterback, because you never know what happens in this day and age. Look what Brock Purdy's doing. I mean, with the 49ers, right? So, and guess what they're going to do? They're going to get rid of Jimmy G. He's a free agent anyways, but they're not going to sign him back. The Raiders are getting rid of Derek Carr. So there's going to be guys out there that you can get. It just is a matter of what you want to do, right? If they believe Daniel is good, we'll see. I mean, the Minnesota Vikings have made a lot of quarterbacks look good this year. Let's see what he does against a team like the 49ers, and we'll go from there. But these booty teams that he plays well against. I mean, remember, just a week ago he had 160 yards against Commanders. So let's see if they can continue this going forward. Sunday's a huge game for him. He needs to have a solid game. They need to blow the doors off this team against Indianapolis. I know Indianapolis is not going to lie down. They haven't lied down for anybody, really. And they've been in most of their games. Even against the Cowboys, they're in their games for at least the first half. So we'll see.
So the market, Alex, Big Blue in the Bronx, said the market
Right.
is going to be interesting. At least 10 teams are looking for quarterbacks, and we'll see how many guys go in free agency in the draft. I
But
mean,
there's
you're
a lot
right.
of quarterbacks coming out next year. So that leaves the market that you're going to have, right? It's Derek Carr. It's Jones. Jones. Going to probably be Daniel Jones, and it's probably going to be a Jimmy G. Are probably going to be the front runners in the quarterback market.
And Miz agrees with you, Adam. Says like he Jones a lot. Like I said, I like Jones a lot. I see a lot in
Wow.
him, and he only gets
Disagrees with
better
me?
from
Hell
growing
must
with
have frozen
Doolittle
over.
around him. But draft a quarterback in 24 to have options too. I mean,
I think
I think we're
they'll
drafting a quarterback this year. I think a quarterback is getting drafted by the New York Giants this
Yes,
year.
I think you're right, Mac. I think if they can get the kid from BYU or Tennessee, Herndon Hooker, I think that with a 3-year deal, you're going to draft a quarterback in here because if you can't get one in 2020, you're going to be able to get one in 2024 probably regardless. But you always want to just hedge your bets because you need a backup quarterback anyways because these guys get injured. They're getting injured left and right. Look across the league. Everybody's getting injured. Daniel, knock on wood, is the only guy who hasn't gotten injured in this season, right? And he's been an injury-prone quarterback. So I think backup quarterback. I keep harping on this. Backup quarterback, and we ran through the show pretty quick. The backup quarterback has been a staple of mine, and I believe it's got to be in this too. I think you're going to bring in a guy like similar to what Daniel can do, a guy that's a runner, a guy that's an athlete. You're not going to be able to pay him all that much money. Look around the league. The league is proving to you. This is not my take. This is the take around the league. Name all the quarterbacks right now across the league and how many of them have been paid. All right. Look at Kansas City. They couldn't afford Tyreek Hill. They traded his ass. Okay. They couldn't afford to pay him and Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes and fix the
Well,
offensive line.
they gave Patrick Mahomes a contract like nothing we've ever seen before. So,
Right. But that's my point. I mean, the Browns are going to be stuck with it because they don't have a guy right now who they're going to be eating that contract for years. So they're going to have to build through the draft. So the NFL's built cheaply. Look at Joe Burrow, right? He brought in Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow at the same time. Those guys are going to grow together and not have to be paid for a couple years. Josh Allen already got a second contract, but they brought in Stephon Diggs while he was still on that rookie deal before they gave him the extension so they could fit him in, right? But now they're going to probably lose Tremont Edmonds in free agency because they're not going to be able to pay him. I mean, there's a reason there's a salary cap in the NFL, not like the NBA where you can sign anybody, you know.
and yeah, definitely agree with this here. Like you said, I mean, I think they go ahead and sign Jones and draft a guy to develop him behind. Also, the fact that Tyrod Taylor is still here, so that's
Right.
another good veteran quarterback that he come in that he get draft a young guy. He doesn't have to come in necessarily and be the backup right away, as what basically getting that,
And
or
I
he can
don't think
even be
he could be a development player. You never know, man. You never know. Look at
yeah.
Jalen Hurst. Look at Jalen Hurst. They brought him in not knowing exactly what they were going to do with Carson Wentz. Maybe they were going to trade him, maybe he doesn't. Maybe Carson Wentz has a great deal and he's just a backup quarterback. You never know. But it depends on where you want to go offensively. Offensively, I believe that they want to be more of a run-heavy kind of quarterback. Daniel finally showed you this week that he can throw the ball. Get him a couple receivers. Let's see. I think he's going to be a Ryan Tannehill type where it won't matter that you bring in guys. He's just going to have low touchdown numbers. That's just who he's going to be. And that's not a bad thing on him. That's not a slight on him. That's just what I think he's going to turn out to be. As if you want to
I,
go,
I agree. I'm not going to just keep. I don't want to keep playing tug of war with this. I just believe that if you give him more reliable weapons, you'll see more of what you're looking for as far as passes to the end zone and things of that nature. I just think that right now, this game on Saturday showed that, like I said, you reverse the quarterback's receivers and put Hodgins and Richie James and Bellinger and give them to Minnesota and give us Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson, and Adam Thielen, you would have seen a completely different outcome in that football game because that's how good Daniel Jones did play. But
Right.
those guys just
But
aren't. They're good. Like I said, Hodgins. I love what he's coming here and done. But he is what he is, man. He's not a number one. He's not a number two, and he might not even really be a number three. You know what I mean?
well,
So
I think
the fact
Hodgins
that
is
you can step up, he stepped up and rose to the occasion. He might be playing himself to being maybe like a good solid number three, but I don't necessarily think that's what you really would even have that guy out on most teams. I
oh,
mean,
let me
so
just do something real quick and show you something that just a couple stat lines here. I know people don't like stats and they don't always tell the story, and I get it, but they are part of the game. They are part of who they are, right? That's what we do here. People get paid based on their production level, and right now Daniel Jones has 13 touchdowns, right? And he just eclipsed the 3,000-yard mark, and he's probably going to get around 3,400 yards and possibly 15 TDs, maybe 16, depending on how many he throws. Ryan Tannehill, who has basically the same receivers, has almost similar numbers. If he wasn't injured the last week against the other team, he has 2,500 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Now, if we go down his career stats to see, and this is what I brought up to somebody recently is, let's see, will this show his career? This is not his career stats. Hold on one second. Let me go to overall stats. Okay, so he had, let me look. I don't know. When was A.J. Brown drafted? You know off the top of your head?
not off the top of my head. It's
He was
been
drafted
at
in
least
2019. Okay, so 2019.
2019. That's it.
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, the year before the pandemic. It sounds like it was a little bit longer than that, but
Right. So 2019. Here we go. So 2019, he had 2,700 yards. He played 12 games that year. He had 2,700 yards. He was 9.6 yards. He had 22 touchdowns and 6 intercepts. Now, he could probably have more. There's 4 games still unaccounted for that he could have played. But again, Tennessee got him in 2019, so I think they started Mariota first. So he had 2,700 yards, 22 touchdowns. His next year, 2020, pandemic year, he played all 16 games. He had 3,800 yards, and he had 33 touchdowns and 7 intercepts. So that's with A.J. Brown at his peak. Last year, he played all 17 games. He had 3,700 yards and 21 touchdowns and 14 intercepts. Now, throughout his career, he's had one. He had sorry about that. Home Depot fucking ad. He had 21. He has one. He's thrown 4 seasons of over 24 touchdowns, and he had 2 seasons of over 4,000 yards in Miami. And now I'm not going back to Miami in 2014 and 15 to find out who was on that team, but he had the best yardage percentage of that thing. So my projection for Daniel is probably similar to what Ryan Tannehill's going to do. You're bringing A.J. Brown. You're probably going to get 400 more yards, maybe 10 more TDs, but these guys just don't throw touchdowns. It's just not who they are. I mean, even this year, he threw 13 touchdowns. That's less than 1 a game. Right now, Daniel is at 13 touchdowns. That's less than 1 a game right now. So we'll see what happens this coming game. I mean, 350 yards. I would like 1 more touchdown or 2 because you look at Kirk Cousins and what he did, and yeah, he had all those teams. But even Gardner Minshew, 355 yards. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see.
I mean, we will see, man. It's gonna be Daniel Jones is making this really interesting going down the stretch right now, going forward, man. We're gonna see how this is all gonna
I'm
play
not
out.
belittling him by saying that, but he is what he is. I mean, Ryan
I mean,
Tannehill.
okay,
He,
okay, I hear the Ryan Tannehill comparison, and that's one more thing I just want to say on that. But Ryan Tannehill's had the opportunity to at least play with guys like that. Daniel Jones still has not. I mean, he
okay.
has not had the
I,
opportunity. We
I'm
have we
right.
have not seen him. So we're forming a narrative what we think. Like I
But
respect
but,
what you're
but
saying,
everybody's
and I
saying
get what you're saying.
is that he's automatically going to be better, and
I'm
I'm
not
and
saying
I'm
automatically. I'm just thinking that how can he be? I feel like he can't be worse. it definitely can't hurt his cause by having at least a top guy. He's never had a top guy
Right.
ever in his
I get it.
career.
Right.
Not even once. Not even one season of
And
his of
I
his career.
understand. I understand that, but that's why they brought in the top guy for Tannehill. That's why they brought in the top guy for Hurst. But you also saw the growth. Like Tannehill, people didn't like Tannehill, and he threw 4,000 yards in a season in Miami, and people still think that guy's a game manager, right? People don't even want Tannehill on the team now in Tennessee, and he got paid $118 million extension. So,
Well, look, I agree with this comment right here too, Alex. Man, I wouldn't expect a repeat of a 330 plus yard performance because Jones was in the dome against Minnesota, but they do have to put the ball in his hands more, especially on the early downs. You got to trust your quarterback, and I think he demonstrated on Saturday that you can trust him to
we'll
make
see.
some plays and make some good decisions. You know what I mean? You got to put the ball in his hands because you got to see. You can't make a real decision on this kid if you're not going to see what he really truly can do.
Right. And but I'm saying even though, but here, and Tua is the prime example. Go to his comment right down there. Tua is the prime example because we never thought Tua was good anyways, right? We didn't think Tua was good. He came in and he was underthrowing Tyreek Hill. I knew there was a problem from the get-go, right? Jones, we didn't have that. We had one good season with Pat Shermer. He's not throwing touchdowns across the board, regardless of who he's had on his team. I've seen other players still put up numbers, even if they had one guy or zero guys, they've still done it. I mean, look at Baker Mayfield. Baker
I
Mayfield, like
agree.
nobody. Baker
I
Mayfield.
agree with. I'm
Name
sorry.
the
Go
receivers
ahead.
on the Rams right now.
I don't know who those guys are. Tyler
Exactly.
Higbee is who he's
Exactly.
been throwing the ball to. But like the Tua example, look, because I'm not. I don't know. I'm not all that. I haven't been have ever been that sold on Tua since he's been in the NFL at least.
Neither have I.
But at the same time, up until like a month ago, he was in the MVP conversation. I mean, he was in that conversation up until a month ago. So it's not like he hasn't had any success with these guys. They have
True.
elevated
True.
him
True.
to an extent earlier in this year. I mean, at least earlier in the year. It's tapered off and it's falling off. But he's still finding Jalen Waddle, which is why I'm
And I,
upset that he's not playing this Sunday because your boy Mac the Giants fan is playing for a
see.
fantasy championship, baby. And Tua knows how to get the ball to Jalen Waddle. I'm just not sure Teddy
Man.
Bridgewater is going to have that same energy for me, and it might cost me a title, but we'll see.
Right, but it doesn't matter that the game was garbage. All right, that's not what you're understanding. Okay, see, I think the problem is people don't like to listen; they only hear things. Okay, and what they hear is Rams, and they're like, "Oh, the Rams!" No, it's you come in, and a guy like Baker Mayfield has come in and played and did exactly. He could have looked like puppycock. He didn't. He came in and he played a good game against the Denver Broncos. Even if the Denver Broncos lie down, he still threw touchdowns to random
Nah,
guys.
yeah, you can't. I can't. Baker Mayfield played a really good football game. I can't shortchange that performance. Denver Broncos defense is actually really good as well. So
Right.
he shredded that thing up, man.
He had 85% completions. He threw for 230 yards and two touchdowns. He played an absolutely good game, right? We're saying that 85% completion. Who does that? All I'm just saying is that the guys that he plays with aren't household names that we're talking about here, right? It's not like he's get throwing a Cooper Cup out there. He's throwing to guys that aren't even that good. Okay, and they shellacked that team. Yes, he had two touchdowns. They had three touchdowns by Cam Akers rushing, right? Then he went over 100 yards. He had Tyler Higbee for 94 yards. He had Bryce Hopkins. I don't even know that guy. I think he's a tight end too. He had Cam Akers, like Van Jefferson. None of his receivers were good, yet he still put up solid numbers against the bad team. And that's what I'm saying is that this is what I mean by not having anybody, right? Everybody across the league you got to produce what you got. You know what I'm saying? And they did.
All right, so we are going to get back onto the NFC East train here, and we got a few games. One just pretty quick little overviews for the weekend. This weekend coming up, all four NFC East teams are playing
Oh, we won't handed.
non-divisional opponents. So we have four NFC East games this week. Starting off with here, the Cleveland Browns taking on the Washington Commanders, and this is a very, very important game for the Washington Commanders. They cannot lose this football game, or they can say forget the playoff, forget the postseason, pretty much.
Yeah, you need this game. I think I hate to say it. I think the Commanders pull out. I think with Carson Wentz, coming back, I think that'll open up the offense a little bit more for them. They're still trying to find their way around with Deshaun Watson, you know, and Baker Mayfield also was injured that year too. I mean, I'm not going to go down the Baker Mayfield bandwagon because everyone wants to go tit for tat with you. Well, if you didn't have this guy, you didn't have that guy. Who cares?
We started talking about Baker Mayfield, so we kind of brought it on.
Well, it was just a comparison, and again, this show is about the NFC East. You make one comparison, people fly off the damn rails. Washington's winning the game. I think they're going to beat Cleveland.
Yeah, I think we see Carson Wentz, a surprise version of Carson Wentz in this one, man. I think we're gonna get a guy that knows that this is absolutely it. It is now or never for Carson Wentz. If he can't get it done and figure out a way to get the Washington Commanders these last couple wins, and these last couple games of the season, it's probably going to be it for him ever being considered as anybody's starter, at least. I'm not going to say that nobody's going to want him at all in any capacity.
Well, listen,
but I can't see anybody. I can't see anybody bringing Carson Wentz in as a starting quarterback again if he has another failed attempt here in Washington, and this is his opportunity. And I think he might actually step up and rise to the occasion. Hit Terry McLaurin for like 2 touchdowns for me, bro, because got him on the fantasy squad too, playing in that title game. So
I'll burn some sage for you, man. Every week somebody is in the playoffs or injured or something's happening with the next fantasy team. I think that's more fun. We should just have a show about your fantasy team.
So let's get it done, man. I hope Carson Wentz do go out there. I think he will. I think this Washington Commanders team is going to get back to what they have been doing successful, which is running that football, controlling that clock, and I think they'll be up for the task to bottle up Nick Chubb and keep Deshaun Watson contained in that pocket. Like I said, like we were talking earlier, Deshaun Watson, he's not going to be the old Deshaun Watson until next year, at least anyway. So I think he's just at this point just trying to get through the rest of these last couple games on this season. And I think Washington. I mean, it's in Washington. They're at home. It's a big game, and like I said, they just got to figure out a way to get it done. Because if they don't, it could be it. It could be all she wrote for the Washington Commanders. And I, for what it's worth, I want to see all 4 NFC East teams in the postseason. I want to see that. I want to see that happen for all this shit the NFC East has been taking for the last few years about the NFC least and garbage division, worst division in football. Yeah, I would love for us to be the first damn division to put all 4 teams in the postseason in one damn season. I want us to be that because we already the best division in football in general, period. Overall history of the game, period. Anyway, why am I adding another accolade to the NFC East? We the only damn division where all 4 teams got a Super Bowl. Why not? Get another accolade for the NFCs. Get all 4 teams in the postseason, and that's going to help. And it's going to start with the Washington Commanders taking out the Cleveland Browns on Sunday.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, I think as long as they got to just get back, because I feel like they really built an identity with that by running the football, getting a little more physical on the ground. And they got to just stay the course. Don't let Carson Wentz come in here and just throw the ball all crazy, all over the place, and just have him making the mistakes, the head-scratching mistakes that he makes, that he's known to make.
Yeah, be worse than Howard Henneke, Kenny. I mean, my God.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I feel like he can get in. So we'll see what happens here. But I think this is a must-win for the Washington Commanders, and I think they get the job done on Sunday, on New Year's Day. So now we'll go to Philadelphia, who they will be hosting the New Orleans Saints. Once again, the Eagles is simple for the Eagles, man. They win this game, they got everything locked up. Home field advantage, number 1 seed, all the good stuff. First round, get that all important first round bye, had the extra week of rest. So I think the New Orleans Saints have no chance in this football game. And I don't care if the Eagles run Jalen Hurts out there or Gardner Minshew. It's just not going to matter. The New Orleans Saints football team cannot and does not stack up to this Philadelphia Eagle football team.
What?
And I feel like the Eagles are going to absolutely blow the doors all the way off of the New Orleans Saints here in this football game
Well,
on
you don't
on
believe in
Sunday.
the red rifle. Come on,
I do not. Not against this Eagle defense.
Uh, oh, who gave
Who is,
up?
by the way, my fantasy defense. Let's go.
Oh God. Mac has clearly went to the dark side when he takes the Eagles defense. I was telling a friend of mine I didn't take any teams from the NFC East. Anyways, point is, Saints are gonna probably get blown up. It's probably not going to matter that the Cowboys won last week because the Eagles are going to lock it up this week. And even if they win this game, the worst that they could finish is what 13 and 14-3 at the worst. So I think they're going to
Yeah.
end up winning this game, and then the week against the last game of the week. However, I think will be a big game because they'll still be fighting for the seeding, right? So, we'll see if they slip up here and somehow lose the game. The game next week against the Giants is an absolute must win.
Absolutely, and I'll be there, so that'll be even better for me as a getting a
Mac, you
chance
gonna
to
be
be at.
there?
I'm gonna be at that game, the last game up in Philly at the Link, Giants in Philly. Yep, I will be
Oh,
there, brother.
good luck. I will. Don't call me for bail money because I ain't got none. But don't do anything stupid.
I'm definitely be all good, man. But yeah, I just feel like Saints have no real chance here, and I think the Eagles are going to just destroy them, especially coming off a frustrating loss. As a matter of fact, if I was the Eagles, I would even go as far as to say, you know what, Jalen Hurts, I'm gonna give you another week of rest just
I think
because.
I think it'll rest Jalen Hurts the entire rest of the season. I just think
I
that's
mean,
what
they might as well at this point. I agree. I feel like they
you're
don't
trying to.
necessarily. I mean,
You're
you need them for the postseason. Point
the
blank.
end goal.
Period.
The end goal is the Super Bowl, right? That's the end goal that you're trying to
Absolutely.
make. So why waste it on two lowly teams that you're playing? You're playing the Giants, who are not a great team, and you play the Saints. Why waste time against that? Now, if the game against the Giants mattered, it might be a different story. But I don't think it's going to matter here. Eagles 60, Saints 3. My God.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Bentley, welcome to the stream too. I appreciate you stopping in. If it's your first time, sub up to myself, Adam Costas, the Hardcore Network. If it's your first time to the channel, man, I really
I'm
appreciate you
five
stopping in.
subs away
I
from
think
100
the
people.
I think the Eagles blow the doors off of them. Not quite that much. I think as bad as this, I believe the Saints are. You know what I mean? In comparison to this Eagles, and they just don't really match up. Yeah, they're not giving up 60. I don't think. I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, I don't foresee that happening. But I can see this being one of those like 40 to like 14 type of games. I could see it being something like around in that ballpark. I could see it being like that.
Yeah, they're going to get their butts kicked. Although
Yeah.
the Saints is coming off a win, so they're the Saints, they're back. They've won two in a row. They're on a winning streak right now. So
Yeah, but this Eagle team is a completely different animal. So yeah, I'm just not feeling it. Oh, this is the game I should have started off with. I forgot. Let's go ahead. I forgot this is the Thursday night game this week.
man, all these teams are playing booty ass squads across the board for the NFC East. Right? I mean, the
And
Tennessee Titans playing Malik Willis.
and they're playing without Derrick Henry as well. Listed as
My
doubtful on
God,
the injury report.
might as well just lay down, Tennessee.
So it doesn't look good for Tennessee in this matchup here. Obviously, with with backup quarterbacks, backup running backs, and I mean we're talking especially at the running back. We're talking about a significant downgrade here.
Now,
So
if the Cowboys give up 355 yards to Malik Willis, I'm gonna call out cold Cowboys because this is a game you need. You need your experience to win. You need your experience to beat this guy. Okay, he's not that. It's not that he's not that good. He's young. He's only played this will be what, his fourth game or something like that. He's finally starting to incrementally get better. Don't make this the game that he gets right.
yeah, I mean, I honestly see this game also kind of being a bit of a rout I just think that the Dallas Cowboys defense does get it back together this week going up against young Malik Willis. I think they forced a lot of turnovers in this game. I think just that the Tennessee Titans offensively, it just revolves around Derrick Henry. Without him on the field, just what do you as a defense? What are you respecting? You're just gonna pin your ears back and get after that young quarterback, man, and disrupt him and confuse him, and I think they're gonna be successful, man, in that mission because we talked about it earlier. Tennessee is one of those teams offensively that they kind of look like the Giants as far as personnel standpoint. It's not like they don't have a bunch of guys that jump off the page at you offensively. So I
Well, I
think I
mean,
think it'll.
he's struggling. I mean, he is struggling out the gate. And I don't think Malik Willis is going to jump that far up. I think he's still developmenting a little bit, right? He's a third round pick for a reason. But he doesn't have a guy to lean on. He threw 14 times for 99 yards and 2 interceptions. He's the only quarterback in the NFL right now who's thrown less average yards per pass attempt than Daniel Jones in a game. Daniel Jones' lowest was 5. This guy's lowest is 4.3. Right. So the Cowboys need to exercise some demons here and really put the clamps down on the kid. However, he did run the football pretty well. He was 7 yards, 43 yards. He got after 7 attempts, 6.1 yards a carry. So that's something that if I'm the Cowboys and I'm the Tennessee Titans, I'm probably leaning more on the RPO game and running a little bit more with Malik Willis to try to keep things safe.
I mean, they gonna have to. They're going to figure it out. Figure something out there. But just on this comment right here, I mean, look, it don't matter what kind of fan you are, man. It don't matter what team you're a fan of. None of that even. It's irrelevant. Whether it's anybody that's celebrating that and talking shit about somebody's family being deceased, that's just a piece of shit person in general, man. So it
Yeah, I
don't even
can't
much
blame the
matter.
fan base for that. I know a couple of
It's
Eagles
there.
fans.
I'm not. Yeah, and I'm not putting that on the Eagles fan base. I'm putting that on just that person being a
Listen,
piece of shit,
when I was
regardless.
20, in my 20s, I blamed Eagles for a lot of things, throwing batteries at Santa Claus with jerk offs, right? But you know, like the old saying goes, one apple doesn't make the bunch, right? So we have to kind of take everything with a case by case basis. In this case, that guy or persons or people are assholes to do that to somebody. Uh, it's pretty shitty. Doesn't have to be an Eagle fan. Could be a fan of the Pelicans. Still shitty.
Yeah, and I agree with NYG here. Unpopular opinion. Sports. Willis will be good in this league, but this ain't the game he's breaking out in. I just think it's going to be a long day for this kid. I think they're going to throw a lot at him. This Cowboys defense is going to throw a lot at him, and it's going to be a rough day for him, man.
But it's
But
going to be good to see. It's going to be good to see Malik Willis on a big stage. We'll see how he can perform. I agree with you. I think they're going to make his life miserable. I think it's going to be another blowout. Actually, if you want to know the truth.
yeah, I actually also agree. I think the Cowboys just pretty much win this one pretty easily. And that means one more game on the docket, and we all know what that is.
It's New York
Where
Giants
are you at? I know I
against
did a thing
the
for you.
Indianapolis
Oh,
Colts.
here you go.
Why?
The Indianapolis Colts for the coming up to MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Football Giants, and for the first time in how many years it's been? How many years it's been?
6.
2016, 6 years. The New York Giants have a chance to clinch a playoff berth. All they got to do is win. They don't need no help. They don't need anybody else to lose. It doesn't matter who loses. All the Giants got to do is go into MetLife Stadium on Sunday and
Don't
handle
know.
their business and win the damn football game. Do it for Alex, Big Blue in the Bronx. He gonna be in there. Don't have him out there sitting out there in them stands. Oh, NYG gonna be there too. Do it for them because they gonna be out there going hard, rooting for the New York Football Giants on Sunday, on New Year's Day. Let's bring in 2023 with a playoff berth, New York Football Giants. All you got to do is go out there and win this game. No
Yeah,
Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. I'm assuming we're getting Nick Foles starting for the Colts again as well. Got to take advantage of all of this, New York Giants, and you got to get the job done.
Well, Ndori Jackson should be back. Hopefully,
He's been back practicing this week. Yep.
hopefully that's a boost. Just don't have a letdown. This Indianapolis team is a streaky team. 1 minute they're like Jekyll and Hyde. They'll look like a pedestrian, and then all of a sudden they'll be this monster. And you're like, what is happening? So make sure to knock them out early, like the Cowboys did. I don't want this to be a game where we're still sitting here in the fourth quarter, biting our nails because we can't put a team away. Build off something. Build off the offensive momentum you had against Minnesota. I know that every game is different. I know the Colts defense is slightly better than the Minnesota defense, but their offense is not, And so we'll see what happens against them and save X-Men for the playoffs. At this point, X-Men ain't even coming back from the playoffs, bro. Stop worrying about Xavier McKinney. We don't need him right now. If you want to IR his ass, IR his ass. He's not coming back anytime soon, and we're at week 16. What am I worried about him coming back? So we'll see. As long as he's not returning punts, I'll be fine with it.
Well, he's not. He's not going to be returning punts. That's for sure. I mean, Richie James has kind of shorted up again a little bit. Took them stupid sleeves off. That's one of the things that they thought was hindering him earlier in the season with the fumbles because he always wore those sleeves and make things ball a little bit slippery. Whatever it takes. Whatever these guys got to do to not make the mistakes. You know what I mean? But
don't we have a blowout win?
I would love to see that, but at the same time, I just want the W. I don't care if it's only by 1 point or it's by 30 points. As long as we win on Sunday and get the job done and get back to the postseason, because football ain't the same when the New York Giants ain't making no noise. Y'all know that. Come on, man. Y'all know that.
We don't get injured, right? I would hate to see this game where we win and we lose like Leonard Williams or Daniel Jones or one of these guys for an extended amount of time as we go in. So, let's try to blow them out, really, and sit some guys at halftime so that we can cruise to a victory.
Absolutely, man. I'm all about that, man. What's going on, Jersey Life? Thanks for stopping in, man. Appreciate you coming by, man. But yeah, New York Giants got to go out there. You can't have a letdown. Coming off that loss in Minnesota, you got to go out there and do this for not well, obviously for yourself, but you got to do it for the fans too. People that's been supporting you, riding with you through these dark days it's been in New York. I mean, this is the longest period of time in my lifetime as a New York Giants fan that we've been a bad football team, and the fact that while we were in the midst of a rebuild this season, still able to compete the level we've been competing to the point where now we go out there on Sunday and win the football game. We back in the postseason. Man, I couldn't be prouder as a New York Giant fan, man. So just go out there and get it done for all your ride or dies, man. The ones that really ride for this team and dealt with all the Joe Judge stuff and the 3 and 4 and 13 records and all of that kind of craziness, man. It's been too much of that. And finally bringing some pride back to the New York Football Giants organization, man. Go out there and get it done for all of those people as well, man. Think about all of that, and you go out there and you kick the Indianapolis Colts ass, and you make sure you leave a lasting impact on that team. Let them know that we are not just rolling into the playoffs and just happy to be there. We coming to compete. Let them know. Let's make a statement. That's what I want to see on Sunday. Make a statement.
Right. That's why that's why we need to win this game. I don't want it to be close. I don't want a Graham Gano 50-yard field goal to win this game. I want a cruise control where I'm sitting there at 27-17, 27, 14, something like that, where you're not worried about it, where the Giants can then hand the ball off to Barkley for the last 4 minutes of the game and not worried about anything. Against Minnesota, it was wire to wire because that team scored. There was punts. There was and don't get too many mistakes because that's how you keep a bad team in the game is mistakes, right? Turnovers, mistakes, block punts, those type of things keep a bad team in a game. And like I said, this team went up against Minnesota and had them dead to rights. Minnesota had some life, found some life, and scored quickly. But the point was, they were up on that team. They were up with a lot of teams. They have some talent. Nick Foles might have played one bad game. Let's hope he doesn't get right again. I know Nick Foles stinks, but he has played in this league, and we'll see what
One Super
happens.
Bowl. He has won
Right,
a Super Bowl.
won a Super Bowl, so he's got some experience. Let's see what he does with another week or two in this offense. As I don't know how long he's been in the offense, but let's see what happens another week or two in as a starter, and let's just not overlook this team and think that the Eagles will lie down for us. Take care of business this week, and then you can rest your players against the Eagles on Sunday.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I feel like not only would you lock down a playoff spot on Sunday with the win, you're pretty much going to be locked into that sixth seed as well. I don't think anybody will be able to leapfrog you for that as well either at that point. So
No, so you're
I
going
pretty much
my channel is in the. I think Mac is going to send you a link right now.
I'll drop it for him. I'll drop the link in the chat, Jersey Life.
But thank you so much. Get me up to 100 subscribers, people. I'm at 95. I'm at the 5-yard line. I need to get to the end zone. But yeah, man, I just think don't overlook it. They have a solid defense over there that can create turnovers, that can be disruptive. They have some guys in the front four that can really be a pain in the ass. So just don't keep, because that's what Colts are going to do. They're going to try to keep it close, because I know the Colts are going to look at this Giant team and say, we have a chance to beat these guys. We do. That's what
Thanks,
they're
Philly
going to
B.
And it's not like they're going up against a juggernaut offensively. We had one juggernaut game so far. They're going to say, they're going to try to test us. They're going to make us work for it. So let's try to blow the doors off early, like I said, so we can pull some of these guys, so these guys get 2 weeks rest, 2.5 games rest. And let's get out of there unscathed, please.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Get it. Try to go out there and get it done. Like I said, this is just feels good, man. Be right. It's right. We're right there, man. Right there. So close, man. All we got to do, like I said, just go out there and win. Win the game. You take care of the opponent that's in front of you, New York Giants, and you will be dancing into that postseason, man. That's all you gotta do. You don't have to wait. You don't have to look and wait to see the results of any other game. All you gotta do is handle your own business. That's the best spot you could possibly be in, man. When you just control your own destiny. And that's what you got waiting for you on Sunday. And the Indianapolis Colts are not going to make it easy. Trust me, they're going to come in wanting to spoil the season. But they're a pretty undermanned team as well, and they're coached by a high school football coach. So at the end of the day, you got to go out there and handle that at home. You can't lose this football game at home.
Saying you don't like Jeff Saturday.
I'm just saying, man. How the man get a job as a head coach in the NFL, and he ain't even been a coach in the NFL at all, in any capacity. Not a coordinator, not a positional coach, nothing.
We'll
it's
see
just
what
weird
happens.
to me. I mean, they play hard for him. Don't get it wrong. They've been playing hard for him, but
Well, yeah. I mean, they played hard, but their last game they looked like they couldn't get out of their own damn way, right?
yeah.
But
So
you're not, like I said, you're not going to get 3 interceptions again. Don't let them run on you. They're probably going to try to keep the game close with running the football, and basically doing short passes. I think that's their best game plan. And as defense, I think their defense is, while it's not great, they get sacks. Zaire Franklin's got a sack last game. They had Dio, I can't even pronounce some of these African names, 1.5 sacks, right? DeForest Buckner, had a sack and a half against
yeah,
Justin Herbert and that offensive line. So
they
they're going
got
to be
some dogs
disruptive.
on defense.
Yeah,
They got some dogs on defense.
right. And I think they believe in Nick Foles enough, the defense, to be like, all right, we can do this against. Thank you, Jersey Life. Thank you so much. But uh, I think they're going to be. You can't, like, that's what I'm saying. With their defense, they got a turnover last week. They got sacks last week. They kept their team in the game, so to speak. Right? They lost by 17, which is bad. But 3 interceptions does that to you. You know what I'm saying? Don't let this team take over. They know that they can get sack fumbles on Daniel. Daniel drops back. Protect that football. Don't play conservative, but also don't when the time is right. If you're up 2 scores, still be aggressive, but be smart aggressive. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you for that, Jersey Life.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, man.
Thank you
But
for coming.
Here's what I don't want to see at this point, because you can't give me what you gave me on Saturday offensively, and then come back out in this game and go back to that weird dinking and dunking little 5-yard curl routes and shit that we've been seeing most of the season.
Right.
You can't do that. You can't do that to me now. You've opened this thing up on Saturday, and you showed me that you have this offense does have an ability to do some things. So you can't revert back. Now you got it's all systems go. You got to give me that.
Take these games as playoff preparation. Right?
Absolutely.
You have to be able to open it up again, because I'm telling you right now, if everything goes chalk like it is right now, we win and the Vikings win and there's no real movement on the fact that, the Vikings lose, they still will get the second seed in the last game of the year. I guarantee you that, the 49ers are going to look at us and laugh and say, this team doesn't even go deep. You got to make them believe. You got to make these teams believe.
Absolutely, man. Well, guys, I don't know, unless you got any more. You want anything else to add to Adam, man? We're about to wrap things up, man.
No, man, it flew by. My God, it flew by.
Yeah, definitely did, man. Jersey Life says be aggressive and keep that playbook open. Absolutely, bro. That's what they got to do now. They just can't go backwards now. That's all. You put it on display. You show us that you have the ability to do it, and now it's got to stay that way. You want me to not go back.
You want me to believe that this guy is the franchise guy? You got to keep throwing the ball. You can't revert back, because this is what I think will happen. Right? The Giants will get the ball, and they'll turn around and go to handoff. They'll do a couple, dink and dunk plays, because that front four is going to come out, and we're just going to see them, trying to grind out a victory. And I know that's not what I want to see. I want to see you, go over there and throw the ball downfield. It's not like this. I mean, the Colts are a solid team. They got Stephen Gilmore. They can play some. They lost their number one corner this year. He's on IR. They can play. I mean, they can play. But let's not be. I mean, they have Yannick Ngakoue, hasn't done nothing on this team, but they have Kudipe, who's injured. Like I said, they got 4 sacks last year. The last week in an interception against the Chargers. That'll keep you in the game. That will keep you in games. That will stall drives. Make sure you're aware. And go get it done. Get to the playoffs. Bring in the new year. Go into the playoffs.
Absolutely, man. And just for a little reminder for all of y'all, man, don't forget, on New Year's Day, immediately following the game up in MetLife Stadium, tune in to my channel, Mac the Giants Fan, for the true Blue Aftermath, giving you that live post-game reaction to the game between the Giants and the Colts. Hopefully it'll be a very good one on Sunday, on New Year's Day. And definitely don't forget next Wednesday to tune in for the Week 18 edition of the Real Deal NFC East Round-Up with me and my guy Adam Costas, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see y'all next week, man. Happy New Year's, everyone. Be safe and be blessed. Have a blessed and safe holiday. It's y'all boy, Mac the Giants Fan. This is my guy, Adam Costas. Peace.
Good night, all.
I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants Fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants Fan. That's MACDA Giants Fan.